I am here with Brittany Miller, the Swim Strong Dryland Director of Nutrition Research and Development. She is absolutely awesome and has so many great insights that she gives to our athletes, parents, coaches every single day, really. And just big time nerd when it comes to the nutrition and wellness. And we absolutely love her. And we're going to dive into a couple of common myths today that people believe from a nutrition standpoint. So I'm excited to get into that. Before we do, this is the second time that I've had you on the podcast. And so we're going to do some new rapid fire questions. Brittany, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. First question. Who is the greatest basketball player of all time?
I knew you were going to ask that. Michael Jordan. That's the first myth, that LeBron James is the GOAT. That's the first myth.
Oh, boo. Wrong. All right. That's okay. It's your answer. All right. How about your favorite food?
Oatmeal. Hands down, oatmeal. There's so many ways you can make it. You can have cold oats. You can have overnight oats. You can have warm oats, whatever. You can bake with them. So many options.
Since you're a kid too, you've had that's always been your winner. All right, next question. Favorite restaurant to eat at if you're going out to dinner?
Oh, Sweet Green. Definitely Sweet Green. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're going to jump in to our nutrition myths. Good job. It's great to have you back on here. And so I want to just dive into a few myths. I think this is really important. Curious to get your take on some of these things because, you hear stuff all the time on the internet, on social media, stuff that you read that is a scholarly article. A lot of times people don't understand what a scholarly article actually is and what qualifies as high quality research. And so just want to bring some of these questions to you, things that I commonly hear people talk about on the pool deck and around just the swimming world and even athletic world in general. So first big one that I hear a lot is sugar something you should completely avoid? Is sugar a bad thing? This is something that I hear all the time. People talk about clean eating, avoid sugar, avoid carbs, avoid all these different things that you shouldn't have as a high performing athlete. And even when it comes to like sports drinks and stuff, get the low sugar options or no sugar options or alternative options. What is the truth around all that? Because there's a strong belief from a lot of people, I feel like, around that type of thing.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's kind of the way that I would describe it is as long as you're using it strategically, then you don't need to worry about sugar in general. Like, of course, most Americans probably eat too much sugar and, aren't that healthy. But as an athlete, your needs are going to be different than the average American. And so, you're going to utilize sugar in a way that's going to give you energy. And so that's why sports drinks are formulated with sugar in them, because it actually gives you energy. Like your body's going to use that. That's your main energy source is carbohydrates. So like whether you're eating a piece of bread or a sugary sports drink, like in the end, it's going to be broken down into sugar and your body's going to use that. So that's why it's in there. And so if you're going for like zero sugar electrolyte drinks, then it's going to lack the carbohydrate, which, is going to essentially, like if you have a practice that is like a little bit longer than let's say an hour, then you're going to want to replenish those glycogen stores. You're going to need a little bit more carbohydrate. As opposed to like an hour practice, sure, like you might not need as much carbs for that. But yeah, like for the most part, swimmers, because they are training like so many hours and they're just like, they have higher need for carbohydrate than other athletes that are not endurance athletes. And it's going to help you too. The carbohydrate is going to help keep you hydrated. So it pulls water into your cells and it's going to help keep your muscles hydrated.
So why do you think that so many people believe that? Where do you think that comes from? Because you're saying that that's definitely not true. And yet many people believe that. Why would someone believe that?
Well, I think it just goes back to like the average American is unhealthy and eating way too much sugar and way too many refined carbohydrates, like way too much of that. But an athlete's needs are way different than the average American. Like that's why you can't base it off of whatever your friend is doing. That's not a swimmer. And so, yeah, I think that's why is because if you're like intaking a lot of sugar, then it can cause inflammation. But because you're swimming and you're, whatever, if you're training, you're going to use that immediately. So if you strategically use those electrolyte drinks with sugar in them around training, then it's going to be used. It's all going to be used for replenishing glycogen stores. It's going to be used for energy. So you're not going to have to worry about like it's just sitting around in there and then causing inflammation.
You mentioned something too about the average American and versus like the needs of a developing athlete. Does that apply for like parents and kids? Like a lot of times parents will have a certain diet plan that they're on that they also think is good for their kids. Would you advise against athletes having the same diets as their parents?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, parents like we're not training like your kids are, like, and we know that. And I think sometimes we forget like they're growing and their calorie needs are going to be way different than yours, and also they're because they are like expending so much energy, they're going to need that excess carbohydrate coming in. And plus, on top of that, adolescent athletes don't store glycogen effectively as opposed like an adult would, and so consuming that like outside carbohydrate is going to be more important so that they have it available to use.
Interesting. That's good. Yeah, I feel like these are golden nuggets. So take notes, everybody. So I have that was kind of in depth on the first myth. The second myth that I feel like I've heard a lot of that I wonder if there's some truth, no truth, or a lot of truth to. Is it normal to be feeling depleted or overly tired, or people talk like have a lot of times you'll train really hard and you might puke or have cramps or just be like feeling totally just exhausted, and sometimes people think that means that wow, this is normal, I'm working hard, I'm training a lot, I'm spending multiple hours in the pool and then doing dry land, and that's the life of an athlete. Some truth, no truth, a lot of truth.
Yeah, so that one, I mean, there's always going to be hard practices, and I'm sure like coaches, they there's like times, especially like during an intense training block or something like that, like that they'll feel extra depleted. But if that's happening on the regular and that's a consistent thing where like you mentioned all those things, Eric, like throwing up or feeling super low energy, not getting through sets, not being able to push yourself through sets, even like feeling shaky or weak during training, heavy legs is another common one. All those things are not like if you're experiencing that a lot, then that's not normal. So people will think like, oh yeah, like it's just part of it, just part of being a swimmer and part of like, no pain, no game, right? And it's really not true though, because there's something that's going on, whether it's your sleep or nutrition or hydration or something, or stress levels even can affect that. That you're missing a piece of the puzzle that we want to really address, because you should be recovering well and feeling good most days.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to note too. You said most days, like maybe there'll be a day here and there where it's like you're feeling a little bit more tired than others because of the specific training you're going through, or you had a hard week of school, or sleep wasn't as great, or whatever. Or even if you got great sleep, it was just an intense week for you, and it's okay to be sore sometimes and to be tired sometimes, and you have to push yourself and push your limits. We're not talking about it's just a totally different mindset though to prioritize recovery and understand that you shouldn't be feeling that way consistently. It should be very infrequent. And from a dry land perspective, like I'm always talking to athletes, like we have our wellness questionnaire, and people rate their soreness level on a scale of 1 to 10, and if you're more than 5, that's not where we want you. We would look at, okay, what's your recovery look like that could be causing that? You should really be in like like we want you to be like right around a 3 or a 4 would be great, or a 2 or a 3, where you worked hard, but it doesn't impact or impede like your ability to perform well in the pool each day in practice, and
Right.
and you can still feel great the next day. And so if you're a little sore or not sore at all, that's great. But if you are really, really sore, that happens sometimes, but that's okay. But if that's like frequent, it shouldn't be. We need to look at your recovery or scale back your training a bit, because you're just constantly broken down. So from the nutrition and wellness standpoint, would you kind of say it's about the same thing then as what I'm thinking in terms of how we relate that in dry land?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, some people think like, oh, it doesn't really matter, like nutrition wise, as long as I'm eating enough, then I'm good. And that's number one. But you really need to make sure like you're eating enough of the right things to perform at your highest level, because there are such thing as nutrient deficiencies. And, if you don't address those, then you're going to start feeling fatigued and you're going to struggle at practice. And the other big thing I want to mention too, that some swimmers a lot, or I've heard it a lot, that they'll experience like upset stomach, especially like around training. And there's a couple ways that they can address that. So I don't want them to give up and be like, oh, that's just normal. Like I'm just always going to have upset stomach, and so I can't eat anything. Well, that's where like your quick carbohydrates can come in, or liquid carbs, to help address that. So you are getting fuel in so that it's available to you and you can perform at a higher level, but that your stomach isn't hurting every time, because like that's super common. And then for female athletes, having either an irregular period or having no period, that is not normal. So like their doctor might tell them like, oh, well, you're just an athlete, so that's why that's normal, but it's not, and it shouldn't be happening. So if it is, then there's a reason behind that. And it can often be related back to fueling and nutrition. So
going off of kind of what you're saying, there's a reason behind a lot of things. I think it's good for people to be understanding what your body better than anyone. And so if you feel like, at least what I think I'm hearing you say, if you feel like something isn't normal, it's probably not. And we should look into deeper reasons why. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So really listen to your body and understand that, there are definitely high performance cues that you can learn from. And we want you to feel as best as you possibly can. And nutrition and wellness can play obviously a massive role in that. So we hope you're enjoying this week's podcast. We want to take a quick break to shout out our sponsors. Attention all high school and club swimmers and divers. Are you ready to take your talents to the next level and dive into the collegiate scene? Look no further than ACC Recruiting, your premier destination for college swimming and diving recruitment education. At ACC Recruiting, we specialize in connecting student athletes with the perfect collegiate programs that match their skills and academic aspirations. Our experienced team will guide you through the recruitment process, providing personalized support every stroke of the way. Don't let your dreams sink. Visit ACC Recruiting today and make a splash in your future. Dive into success with ACC Recruiting, where champions are born. Visit our website now or call us at 314-518-8844. That's 314-518-8844. ACC Recruiting, your gateway to collegiate swimming and diving excellence. Resistance bands are a must-have for dry land. Elite Athlete Power Band kits are designed to give you a cost-effective way to improve performance and reduce the risk of injury. These high-quality kits last longer and are versatile enough to provide total body workouts anywhere, anytime. The levels of resistance are ideal for progressing youth athletes without weight increases that are too large. Go to the link provided on the SwimStrong Dryland website, click on the Training tab, and search Equipment Suggestion Lists, and get your Elite Athlete resistance bands today. That's good information. Well, I have one more myth that I feel like I hear constantly, and with it being kind of the back end of the winter season now, with a lot of people who have gotten sick, what I've heard all the time is specifically like parents and coaches, and obviously athletes will believe it too. This is something that even I thought for a long time growing up. If I'm getting sick or am sick, that taking a bunch of vitamin C will help boost my immune system or prevent me from getting sick if I'm not sick. Is there some truth to that? No truth? Or is it completely true?
Yeah, I feel like a little bit complicated, but so kind of simplifying as much as I can. Vitamin C, it's an antioxidant, so it acts to like quench free radicals in the body, which oxidative stress is normal after training, right? And that's like a part of it. But if you get too much of that, then you can start to see like a negative response. So like your training adaptation might be hindered in some way. So that's where like it, and they've researched it too with the immune system, and it supplementing vitamin C does not prevent you from getting sick. So like if you take it ahead of time thinking like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna make sure that I don't get sick this winter, then that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna help anything. Maybe if you didn't get sick, it probably had nothing to do with that. And so that is something that they have research, and it's not really effective for that. But what it is helpful for is it's helping with collagen synthesis, tissue repair. It's helping you to be able to recover well from training through food sources, like rather than supplementation. But there are cases where, like, if you're injured or if you are actually sick, then that's where supplementing vitamin C makes sense. But if you're sick, really what they found is that you need zinc with vitamin C. So it's more, they're kind of coming to the conclusion now that it's more of like the zinc that is in play if you have an upper respiratory tract infection, that it's mainly the zinc that's kind of like helping you to be able to get over that colder, or to get over that in a shorter period of time. So if you have a cold or like upper respiratory, so yeah, combining those two things together when you are sick can help shorten the duration. So that would be a good strategy. And then as far as like supplementing otherwise, really, I mean, you can get your vitamin C needs through food, and swimmers' needs are going to be higher than other people, obviously. But if you just supplement too, like you're missing out on like the food sources of vitamin C are going to be like fruits and veggies. And so you're missing out on the other benefits that come from those fruits and veggies. And so you really you got to get in those vitamin C food sources to see the best benefit. Because if you go too high, if you supplement vitamin C, then you risk that, you're not going to be recovering optimally. You might delay muscle recovery.
Interesting. So I'm with all of these things that we've talked about. Thanks for going through each of those kind of myths that I've heard, and hopefully that can be really helpful for everybody listening. I'm sure maybe some people had no idea what these things. Some people kind of knew a little bit, or you knew one or two, but and maybe you knew all these things, and it was just a reinforcement and a little bit more depth as to why these aren't true and what actually is true. Something that always strikes me, just the research and development side of exercise science and nutrition and wellness. It's always changing. It's always evolving and growing. And just kind of as we conclude here, what would be your advice to people in terms of just, we live in an age where information is more available than it's ever been before, but doesn't mean that it's true. You can hear all kinds of information. Some of it's that's just straight up lies. Some of it that has half truths. And so you take that and run with it and then don't realize like it's only halfway true. And that can be more damaging sometimes than anything. Sometimes you get stuff that's like pretty good. Someone knows a lot, but they're missing like an important element, like the last 10%. And then obviously sometimes it's super thoroughly researched and can be trusted by that community of professionals who's put time and expertise into their research and education. But for someone who's just on social media and doesn't know how to decipher the difference between all those things, I think it could be overwhelming what information to listen to and not. Obviously, I can say just listen to Brittany. If you just listen to what she says, and that'll help really guide you, because this is all you do: nutrition and wellness for swim athletes, and it's what you've made your career. And that's why you're so good at what you do, because you're passionate about it. You are constantly researching and trying to get better and better, no matter how much you know. Because the more if you ever get to a spot where you feel comfortable with what you know, you're going to go backwards. And so that's just not in your DNA, not in our DNA. And so it helps that this is all that you do. But for someone who's just kind of wandering social media, is there any I don't know, just kind of things that they should check themselves with, or red flags? If you hear someone speaking like this, like maybe don't believe it, just like right off the bat type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard. The first thing would be if someone's yelling at you in a grocery store, especially with their shirt off, then they're probably not they're probably not trustworthy. But in all seriousness, I think the people, like if someone is speaking super definitively about something instead of saying like, it may or like possibly, like there's just too many. Nutrition is so, like you said, like there's so many things that we don't know. It's still in like toddler stage if it were a person. And so, which is exciting, right? Like that means that there's so much to learn. And, but yeah, so, if someone's like super definitive on like this specific food, if they're cutting out foods, like saying like this food is pretty much bad for everybody, or this food group or that kind of thing, like the common perpetrators are like dairy, gluten, like sugar, that kind of thing. It's like cut them out and eliminate all of them. So yeah, that kind of thing, look out for. I feel like those would be the two biggest things. It's just like the way that they speak about it. And then like if they're cutting things out, because we want to add in as many foods as possible, like especially for swimmers who are still growing, like you want to get as much variety as possible because you're growing and because your calorie needs are going to be higher than other people. And so, like cut out as little as possible. Obviously, if it makes you feel bad and, if you're allergic to it, then don't eat it. Or if you don't like it, like if you absolutely hate Brussels sprouts, then find something else. But other than that, like there's not really a need to cut out other, the things that, that social media is telling you that you need to cut out.
No, that's good. That's really good, because I feel like if you hear something that's like just absolutely shocking, then it's like, okay, it's probably not true, because you would have at least heard something about that before. And someone comes out and claims that like this food is going to kill you, and this is something you should completely eliminate, or you've been doing this all wrong your whole life, or stuff like that. It's like we put stuff out on social media to educate, and it's just a small snippet, and it can never ever encompass like all of the research that's gone into it. But people can't know that just by looking at our social media, what research development background has gone into that. So I feel like that's a really good red flag when it's like, this is changing the world, and something that, with social media, you're trying to put things out there that are going to get a lot of views. That's good if you have good information. It's terrible if you have bad information. And unfortunately, bad information sells more than good information, it seems like, because it's more shocking. So that's good. I didn't even think about that. Well, Brittany, thanks so much for your time coming on here and educating myself and everybody watching around just common nutrition mistakes and myths and ways in which we can improve. Thanks for all the research and time and effort you put in to what you do and making the swimming world better, and specifically the SwimStrong Dryland family. We all love and appreciate you, and we'll see you soon. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric.
See ya. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch a new episode each Monday. You can also check us out on social media at SwimStrong Dryland. If you would like to join the SwimStrong family, visit our website at swimstrongdryland.com.